Hi guys, thank you so much for clicking on this video. This video was filmed at the very end of my second and final pregnancy. I had planned to have this video edited and uploaded and scheduled to go live on the day I was due to deliver, but because I went into labor early, that didn't happen. My priorities simply became to bring my newest edition into the world safely, and that's obviously what happened. If you do follow me on Instagram, you would know that we have welcomed our second daughter already. I will be doing a video on that very soon, but I thought I would share this second and final pregnancy Q&A with you, so I hope you enjoy this video. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, then welcome. My name is Kirsten and I am soon to be a mum of 2. I am currently expecting my second and final baby, who is due to arrive very soon, and as you can tell by the title of this video, it is a Q&A on my final pregnancy. I wanted to give this a go because we are pretty much 99% sure that this is our last baby. I don't say 100% because you never say never, but we're pretty certain that this is it for us. We are happy to have just our 2 girls. I reached out to some mums on a Australian vlogging mums group for some questions regarding my final pregnancy Q&A, and I've got them here on my phone, so I thought I'd go through those with you today. So the first question is from Natasha, and she asks, what is the reason you only want 2 children? And the simple answer to that is finances and logistics. I really like to travel, I really like nice things, I like eating out, and I just like living a very comfortable lifestyle, and having more than 2 children for us sort of doesn't match up with the lifestyle that we like to lead, if I'm completely honest. If you've been following me on YouTube, or if you follow me on Instagram, which I post much more regularly than YouTube, you'll know that most years we go on an international holiday, and I like doing those kinds of things. That's something that I like doing, that we like doing, and sort of doing that with more than 2 kids just isn't financially viable for us. The other thing is logistics. Having more than 2 children, that sort of outnumbers us as parents, and that's just something we're not really into. Obviously, if I had fallen pregnant with twins, we would have dealt with that and it would have been fine, but I wouldn't actively go out and have more than the 2 that we are going to be blessed with. I think 2 is plenty for us, and that means that we can keep the car that we have, the house that we have right now. Will do us for a little while until obviously the girls need more space, but that's fine. So yeah, that's the reason why we're sticking with 2. So the next couple of questions are from Jess from Utterly in Love, and she asks, what are you most excited for when baby comes? Just that newborn, you know, that newborn bubble that you go into. Like, that's quite exciting. I quite enjoyed it with Maddison. Seeing Maddison as a big sister. Maddison loves babies. A friend of mine who has a daughter Maddison's age and had her second daughter as well this year. Maddison absolutely loves her, so I'm really excited to see Maddison as a big sister, seeing the 2 girls together, seeing my husband become a father again to 2 girls. Yeah, all of those kind of things, and obviously just completing our family, I think. The next question that Jess asks is, how have you prepared Maddison for a baby sister? So you can see a book just there, and it's You're a Big Sister. We've read that to Maddison so many times. It's quite a popular book with her now. She wasn't sure of it at the beginning, but she loves it now. It's pretty much like a daily read. We talk about her sister quite a lot. We differentiate between things like, you know, this is where baby sister will sleep. So we have the bassinet out, and the cot, which Maddison no longer sleeps in. She sleeps in a big girl bed. You know, those kinds of things. We say that's baby sister's bed and things like that. We talk about the themes that are in that book, which is, you know, about sharing and helping her baby sister and those kinds of things. We ask her who's the big sister, and she can usually answer that it's her. She can recognize her sister on an ultrasound, like not from other ultrasounds, but she knows that an ultrasound picture is her sister. She knows that my bump is her sister, those kinds of things. So we've been preparing her pretty well. I'm hoping that she'll be okay. I'm confident that she will be, but you know, we're prepared for whatever happens. So I've got quite a few questions from Mel, and she asks, what do you think you will find most challenging as a mum of two? Being a mum of two, I think it will be juggling my time between the two of them equally. Obviously the newborn is going to be a lot more dependent on me, especially if I'm able to breastfeed again, and just in general she is obviously less self-sufficient than Maddison, even though Maddison is only 2. That's probably one thing. The whole having 2 kids doesn't seem to faze me. I'm confident I'll be okay. It's just making sure that I'm not neglecting Maddison in place of her sister, if that makes sense. So making sure that I have some one-on-one time with Maddison. My husband and I have talked about that we think it's actually very important for both the girls as they grow up to have time alone with us as their parents. So like whether it's just like a mummy, daddy and Maddison, or mummy, daddy and baby time. Also to have one-on-one time with both parents as well, just because, you know, we want them to be individuals and, you know, not just to be chucked together as just sisters, if that makes sense. So just making sure that we are figuring out the balance between how it all works. And obviously this is going to be a bit of a dynamic change for our family, so just sort of making sure that everyone fits in to where their places and their roles are and those kinds of things. The next question from Mel is, do you have a name picked? If so, did you have the name in mind before you found out you were pregnant? Names. Names is such a touchy subject. Like, we've really struggled with names. Maddison wasn't named for 5 days, essentially. So they're like literally the first people that we told her name were the discharging midwives discharging Maddison and myself from the hospital on day 5. So no, we didn't have a name picked out, and we don't have a name still. It's getting very, very close to baby's arrival. We talk about names pretty much every night after dinner and occasionally during the day. I think it's going to be one of those cases where we are firmly those people who want to see our baby before we name them. Obviously we have a bit more of an idea of what the baby might look like because we had Maddison, but that's not to say the baby won't look completely different. But yes, no, nada, zilch on the baby names so far. Next question from Mel is, what is your birth plan? Epidural, or do you want gas? And this is where I can sort of say, like, I kind of have a birth plan. I'm very flexible with how it all goes, but essentially I'm booked in for a cesarean section. So I had a cesarean section with Maddison. I laboured for 17 hours before I ended up having a cesarean for Maddison. Yeah, so I've got a booked, scheduled cesarean this time, so I know when I'm going in. In regards to pain relief, if you go in for a scheduled cesarean, you have a spinal. So you don't actually have an epidural, you have a spinal. And then you obviously move over to oral painkillers when your spinal wears off. But yeah, that's essentially it. I will fast from the night before, go into the hospital, have my spinal, have my cesarean, and I'll have my baby. So yeah, that's my birth plan. It's pretty straightforward. Pretty confident that's probably how it's going to go. Yeah, pretty easy, I guess. And the last one from Mel is, what is your weirdest craving that you've had since being pregnant? And I've actually had this discussion with Ryan because I haven't had any weird cravings with either of my pregnancies, this one or my pregnancy with Maddison, but I have a couple of things where I just eat them a lot, like a lot of them throughout my pregnancy. So for this one, the main things that I've eaten have been toast. I've eaten so much toast, like it's ridiculous how much toast I've eaten, like more than I would ever eat in a year. Yeah, so much toast. I've drunk so much Milo and so much fruit juice, like tropical fruit juice, and so much Milo. I've kind of moved towards Milos now because it is colder, but in the first half of my pregnancy I was probably going through like 4 liters of tropical juice a week to myself. And in the earlier part of my pregnancy I craved like stodgy foods, so literally roast veggies, Yorkshire puddings and gravy, and like I was happy to have that. Like I could have had that every day for every meal, including breakfast, but I obviously didn't. But that sort of subsided, and the one that I've had for the last I want to say 6 weeks at least. Yeah, at least the last 6 weeks is apple pie and custard. And I literally probably eat an apple pie, like a portioned apple pie, like not a family size one, a portion of apple pie and custard every day without fail. So I just tell myself that the apple pie a day keeps the doctor away. I'm sure it's meant to be an apple a day, but let's just say an apple pie a day keeps the doctor away. So the next question comes from Mika from Away From Blue, and she asks, what will I miss the most and least about being pregnant? So in regards to the most, the 2 things that I'm going to miss the most about being pregnant is the body confidence that comes with being pregnant. I've talked about it on my Instagram. If you don't follow me, you can. I will leave my handle somewhere for you to check it out. But I've talked about that both times I've been pregnant, and more so this one. Like I just have like a different kind of body confidence that I just don't normally have. Like I'm generally a larger woman, and I have obviously gained extra weight as I got comfortable when my husband and I were dating, and then obviously we got married. And I think that generally happens to a lot of women, but I just lost a lot of the body confidence that I had, say almost 9 years ago when we first got together, and I was young and I used to go to the gym, and I don't know, had more time, I guess. But so yeah, being pregnant, I just have like this different kind of body confidence, and I am going to miss that. I am going to miss like loving my body as much as I do when I'm pregnant. And the other thing I'm going to miss about being pregnant is not having a period. That is actually one of the best things about being pregnant, and also the fact that you get a baby at the end. But one of the, I guess, side effects of being pregnant and not having a period is it's a great side effect to have. In regards to least, I'm not going to miss being beaten up daily by my in utero baby. This baby is so much rougher and violent in comparison to Maddison. Maddison was that textbook, kicks and flutters and, you know, bit of movement. This is literally, it's actually painful. I think I spent about an hour and a half yesterday with her foot lodged in my rib yesterday, and I just never had that kind of pain with Maddison. The pelvic pain that I've been having with this pregnancy, to the point where I'm actually hobbling or can't get up, the sciatica that I've had with this pregnancy, the fact that I was sicker for much longer than I was with Maddison, yeah, all of those things. Like, I'm totally grateful to be pregnant, totally grateful to be able to grow new life and bring another baby into the world, but it's not been fun. if I'm completely honest. It's been a tough gig, much tougher than it was with Madison, and yeah, a lot of the symptoms and side effects that I've had from being pregnant, I'm glad to be seeing the back of them when the baby's delivered. So my next question comes from Alex from the Mum blog, and she asks what will be the hardest thing to juggle when the new baby arrives. And I think it'll be Madison's expectations of what I can do for her, because I am having a cesarean. I have, you know, post-op recovery, and essentially that means I can't lift her for 6 weeks, which is challenging enough. Like, I have still been lifting her whilst I've been pregnant, and I actually have thought about this, like, in regards to, they say like no heavy lifting when you're pregnant, but I obviously carry my toddler around, like not necessarily carry her around, but I do pick her up and have carried her places and, you know, those kinds of things. So I don't know whether carrying my toddler is heavy lifting. So that's probably going to be the main thing, is, you know, like, it's going to be hard for me to want to sit on the ground and play with her, because getting up off the ground, like, is hard when I'm pregnant, but it's going to be even harder when I'm like recovering with an abdominal wound. So I've been transitioning Madison into getting her to let me do things with her, not sitting on the ground. So if I'm sitting on the couch, she does it on her table and things like that, just to sort of ease that, that obviously the fact that mummy can't do some things with her straight away. And the other thing is her adjusting to the fact that, like, I am going to be feeding, and obviously I can't stop what I'm doing, like feeding her sister. I can't stop that to do something for her, and just dealing with those kinds of things, I think, is going to be the biggest juggle when the baby's born. Obviously I will have Ryan home with me to assist, because you really do need your spouse or assistance with you for your post-op recovery. People think that cesareans are just another way to have a baby, and don't get me wrong, it is, but it is major abdominal surgery. So you do need help managing, especially for at least the first month, but in most cases the first 6 weeks, because you can't lift anything, you can't lean, there's so many things you can't do. So yeah, that's probably going to be the hardest juggle. So the next question is from Rochelle from Global Glendons, and she asks, what's something you plan to do differently with this baby that you wish you knew with Madison? And one thing that I'm planning to do differently is to ensure the baby is accustomed to sleeping in her bassinet before Ryan goes back to work. And the reason for that is, obviously when we had Madison, it was our first baby, and you don't mind being nap locked by your little sort of 3 to 4 kilo newborn. And we spent a lot of time out and about, and we also spent a lot of time where we'd be holding her, and if she'd fall asleep, we'd let her and we'd just stare, and that's pretty normal. Like, I think if you have a baby, staring at your child is pretty normal. But I found that when Ryan went back to work and I tried to put her down, Madison I mean, in her bassinet to sleep, to have a nap, she wasn't a fan. So just sort of getting the new baby used to sleeping in her bassinet. She was fine doing it at night, but just in the day, she really it was obviously foreign territory for her, and it took us a while. And obviously when you're on your own and you know your baby needs to nap and you don't want them to get overtired and those kinds of things, yeah, that's just one thing I would do differently. My friends who've had their second babies recently have all sort of said that you hold your second baby less, like, not that you love them less, but you find that you're putting them down in bassinets to let them learn to be not attached to you, or that they're in a bouncer, or because you have another child to deal with. So that's probably something I'm going to put a bit of emphasis on, just because when Ryan goes back to work, I'm going to have 2 of them. So I want to make sure that I'm not setting myself up to fail with 2 kids. But apart from that, a lot of the things we did with Maddison, I'm probably going to do again. Yeah, but that's the main one. It's just making sure the baby's able to be put down a bit easier than Maddison was. So the last question is from Sunny, and it is, what's your plan for contraception now you're sure you don't want more? And that's a pretty good question, and actually a question my obstetrician is going to ask me at my 6-week checkup after I've had the baby. Look, we've not really had a strong discussion about contraception. Obviously we managed to not get pregnant or fall pregnant before we had Maddison. Maddison was a planned pregnancy, and we managed to not get pregnant in that time. So we obviously know how to not get pregnant. Personally, I wouldn't be looking at hormonal contraception. I find that I just don't react very well. I'm very prone to migraines on hormonal contraception. And that has other risk factors in itself, so I tend to steer clear of those. I don't think I would myself go down anything drastic, you know, down the tubes tied or hysterectomy or those kinds of procedures, just because they're super invasive. And obviously my outlook on children, you know, might change. I'm pretty confident it's not going to, but I don't want to do something completely drastic. But obviously we know how to not get pregnant. We did that for a good 5.5 years before Maddison was conceived. So I'm confident that after this baby is born that we can put those practices in place, and obviously have a further discussion about whether additional contraception is obviously required. But yeah, that's essentially where we sit on contraception, if you're really that interested. But that's it. That is all the questions for my final pregnancy Q&A. I hope you learned something new, or just, I don't know, I just thought it was an interesting concept, because I really am confident, like 99% sure we aren't having any more kids. So I sort of figured I wasn't gonna do another pregnancy Q&A, so I figured I would do this one as my final send-off for a pregnancy Q&A. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and if you're new around here, I would love for you to stick around, so make sure you are subscribed. As I mentioned, I'm about to have my second and final baby, so if you have any advice for juggling 2 kids or a toddler and a baby, let me know down in the comments below, and hopefully I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.